Pretty interesting. I'd like to reach the next level. Let's take a look at it. We'll see what it's asking. Okay, so you are playing an RPG game. Ooh, this sounds like a good one. Currently, your experience points total is equal to experience, one of the arguments they're giving us. To reach the next level, your experience should be at least at threshold. If you kill the monster in front of you, you will gain more experience points in the amount of reward. Okay, so they're now telling us there's a monster in front of you. Given values experience, threshold, and reward, check if you reach the next level after killing the monster. Okay, so they give us a couple examples here. If our experience is currently at 10 and the threshold is 15 and the reward's 5, we kill that monster, we get 5, it brings our experience up to 15, we're leveling up. So it'd be true in that case. In this case over here, experience is 10, threshold's 15, reward is 4, we kill the monster, we're up to 14, we're not leveling up yet. Okay, so basically, I mean, this one, it could be done in a fairly straightforward way. And I know normally we sort of like to move from the more complicated to the more simple, but for this one, I think we're just going to solve this one simply. We're going to keep it very, very simple. And then we're going to look at a more complicated one after, and we'll find out what the reason for that is. So first of all, let's focus on the relatively simple way of doing this. Basically, we want to say, well, if experience, the current level of experience, plus the reward we would get, if it's going to be greater than or equal to that threshold, then we should probably return true. We are going to level up. And otherwise, if that if never gets triggered, then we're just going to return false. So let's try running that. We'll see what we get. And yeah, that's it. In fact, this is a common situation that we might sometimes find ourselves in where we're asking, hey, is this thing true? And if it's true, let's return true. And if it's not true, if it's false, let's return false. But don't you see? This thing is already true or false. We're doing a completely useless step here. We're saying, hey, this thing, if that has the value of true, return the value of true. Why not just return the value of this thing? If it's false, return false. If it's true, return true. Just return this. That's all we're really trying to return here. So return experience plus reward is greater than or equal to threshold. Done. And that works. That's all we need. Okay, so let's see if it passes the hidden test. And yeah, it's all we need. Okay, cool. So that's good. I'm glad we got that one done. But what I want to think about now is what would be the sort of context that this would appear in? You know, like we're talking about an RPG game, right? We're trying to do this little calculation in here. But let's actually put ourselves in the position of someone developing this RPG game. Like, where would they actually have this line of code? Where would that appear? So here's what we'll do. We're gonna make, we'll do another attempt here. So we'll copy this, put it up here. We'll say this is gonna have a 1 on it now because we're not gonna look at that. Instead, we're gonna do something different. So let's think about what our game is gonna look like, you know? So we're gonna basically make some new objects to represent things like, well, in this case, we'll say the player and the monster. Okay, so we're going to say function player. So we're making a constructor for this new player object. So let's say we want to instantiate a new player. You know, we're beginning the game. What kind of attributes is that player going to have? So maybe something like this.hp. You know, maybe they start with 100 hit points. Okay. This.xp, well, they haven't done anything yet, so 0 XP to begin with. This.level, we'll say they start on level 1, and we'll just say this.threshold. I mean, this could be more complicated. Maybe the threshold is going to be based on what level you're at, but in this case, let's just say it's going to be a static thing. Threshold will always be the same, so we'll just do that. And then let's just give it a method here, so gainXp. Okay, that's going to be our method. It's going to be a function which takes in a value of points. You know, we want to gain XP in the value of points. Okay, so basically we'll say constant new XP is going to be, well, whatever XP you had, so this.xp, plus these new points that we're getting from the argument of our gainXp method. Okay, so basically the question is that new XP, like the new amount of XP that we've arrived at here, is that greater than or equal to threshold? Because if it is, then first of all, we want to say this dot level plus equals 1. We're adding 1 to the level. I suppose we could also do plus plus there. Maybe I'll change that in just a sec. And then we'll say this dot xp is going to be assigned the value of new xp mod threshold. Okay, why that? Well, basically it's just if it spills over, you know, like let's say in this case the reward was 7, so 10 plus 7 would be 17, threshold is 15, so yeah, they'll level up, but then there's that leftover 2 experience points, which is going to contribute towards their next level. I think that's usually the way it goes. And just to celebrate the level up, let's just say console.log level up, yay. Okay, cool. So, and then maybe we'll toss in a quick else here, right? Like if new experience is not greater than or equal to threshold, then we'll just say this dot xp is new xp. Okay, that's it. That's all we need. Okay, cool. And I guess that's it, right? I mean, this is a method that's just going to modify one of the properties, well, potentially 2 of the properties of our player object over here. Now, keep in mind, I mean, player might have some other attributes and stuff like that, but for now, we'll just keep it simple. We won't think about, like, you know, their strength, agility, defense, all that kind of stuff. Maybe later. Okay, so XP reward. So we're making a new monster, okay, and it's going to have a particular XP reward. It's going to give a certain amount of XP. So we're going to say this dot XP reward is assigned the value of XP reward, and then this dot dead we'll say is false, so it starts out as not dead, and then this dot defeat, and this one's going to take an argument of player, okay, or yeah, player. Basically, the idea is like which player defeated this monster. That's what we want to be keeping track of. So basically, we'll say, first of all, this dot dead is going to become true. This will become a dead monster. And then player, whichever player this was that defeated this monster, we want them to gain XP in the value of this dot XP reward. That's the idea. So whatever amount of XP this monster carries, however much experience they give as a reward, you want to give that experience to whichever player defeated the monster. Okay, so I'm just going to put a bit of space in right here just to separate the properties from the methods. But basically, yeah, this is pretty generic. I mean, we could add more attributes, maybe we will later, but here, for now, let's instantiate these things. So we'll say const hero is going to be a new player. Okay. And, you know, we don't really have a constructor for player. Maybe we would want to put in like, actually, here, let's make a modification right now. We'll say this dot name is assigned the value of name. What's name? Well, it's going to be the argument for our constructor here. So, okay, let's put in a name. Any suggestions here? Here, we'll say JS the game. That's going to be our player's name. Cool, great name. Anyway, the point is, what we want to say is in this particular case, hero.xp, we're just going to hack it directly. We're going to say it's experience. We're taking a snapshot in time here. So normally we would work up to this level of experience, but let's say we just put in a little Game Genie cheat code and we're just setting the experience to whatever they're giving us in the problem here. We're just looking at a bit of a snapshot here. So we got the debug code on. Anyway, at this point, we want to instantiate the monster. So we'll say evil monster is going to be new monster. And what XP reward do they give? Well, reward, the thing that was provided as one of the arguments up here. So we got experience, threshold, reward. I think we've used all of them now. We used threshold right here. We used experience when we were not instantiating, but when we were modifying the player. And we're using reward for our evil monster. Okay, cool. So then what we want is for the player to slay the monster, right? So we'll say const level before. We're just going to take note of what their level was before they killed the monster. Hero.level. Okay? And then we'll say kill the monster. And what are we going to do there? So evil monster dot defeat. It's going to get killed. By who? By hero. Okay, cool. And then what we want to return at the end there is, well, did the hero level up? Is the current level of the hero greater than the level that they had before, right? That's it. And again, we could do like a if this, then return true, otherwise return false. But again, if this is true, then we're returning true. So return whether or not the hero's new level, their current level, is greater than, strictly greater than the level they had before. That'll only happen if they level up. Okay, so maybe I'll do another comment. Did they level up? I might as well spell that correctly. There we go. Did they level up? Okay, let's try running that. We'll see if it works. And it's not working. Okay, so this dot defeat player. Oh yeah, that's not the way we do that. This dot defeat is assign the value of function player. Okay, so a bit of a syntactical error on that one. Sorry about that. Let's run this again. We'll see if it works. And yeah, it works. I just wanted to verify this one doesn't have the same name, so it's not running that. We could even, like in case you're skeptical about it, we could delete that, and yeah, it's still working. I do want it to be in there though, so okay, cool. So that's another way of doing it. And I mean, again, yeah, this is total overkill for this particular problem here on codefights.com, but this sort of offers us a window into like how we might actually develop some of the logic behind this game. Okay, so you'll notice we have these two different types of objects. You'll notice that they're interacting with each other in the sense that when we defeat a monster, it takes an argument of whatever player defeated that monster, and it can use that to call some method for that player. So it's kind of like, this method of the monster is activating another method within the player, and that's, kind of cool. So what else could we do here? Maybe we'd have something like this inventory is assign the value of this empty array, or even better, we could say it's going to be a new set. Okay, so then we could say like this dot collect item, and all it would do is this dot inventory dot add item. So we're just putting it into the set, something like that. Or we could even do like this dot drop item, and we would say this dot inventory dot delete item. Okay, so we just have a bunch of methods like this. Basically, we could have like here we'll do this dot strength. Okay, is I don't know, maybe it'll start as 10, and then when we level up, maybe we'll also say something like this dot strength plus equals 2. Okay, so we increase strength when we level up. It starts as 10, and then we level up, and it's more than that. And then over here for like we could put in something like an attack function, or like for defeat, we could say like if the character player dot strength is greater than this dot HP or something like that, we could do all kinds of things like that, and we get more and more nuanced, more complicated. But the main thing is that we are kind of separating out all of our different parts here in the sense that oh, I did that wrong again. My mistake. It's assign the value of a function with that. But yeah, basically the idea is that we're sort of separating all these parts according to what they correspond to. So anything dealing with the player should be in the player object. Anything to deal with the monster is in the monster object. We don't need to do it this way. I mean, this is just one option. This is sort of like the OOP, the object-oriented programming way of doing it, but it's just one of many options. I mean, there are other paradigms we could use here. Anyway, main thing is I just wanted to show sort of like how we might actually see this sort of thing in context, not just the actual, zooming right in on the problem they're asking us. So yeah, maybe you'd see something like this. Maybe this is sort of a snapshot of what the game would look like. But ultimately, in this particular problem, all we're trying to return is this. Okay, well, let me know if you have any questions, comments, or concerns on anything we talked about or did not talk about in this challenge. And yeah, that's it for now. Okay, so